fraud.
Sid's stunt for clout may just get him to 3 million subscribers on YouTube, but his stunt also got him arrested for misuse of the 911 system.
Murder.
Mark and Michelle, the suspect Daniel Silva is sitting in a Van Nuys jail cell tonight facing a murder charge.
Assault.
On YouTube, a St. Paul man is known for pushing the limits of the First Amendment.
But tonight, police and prosecutors say he crossed the line.
Today, we'll be looking at 100 different YouTubers that have broken the law, resulting in them being detained, arrested, jailed, or imprisoned. While the types of laws broken are vast, what ties them all together is their penchant for making videos on the World Wide Web. So without further ado, let's begin. FPSRussia was a staple of YouTube in the early 2010s before the channel abruptly ceased uploading midway through the decade. This was for a variety of reasons, with the two biggest factors being the unsolved death of his friend/arms dealer Keith Ratliff, and the legal problems surrounding the channel's owner, Kyle Myers. You see, in spite of the gimmick, Kyle is very much American, and consequently has been investigated numerous times over the years by the United States government. Despite multiple run-ins with the ATF, he managed to avoid imprisonment until August of 2017, when he was arrested on charges related to drug possession for receiving hash oil through the mail. This otherwise minor crime escalated to a major felony, forcing him to relinquish his gun collection, serve 2 months in prison, and spend the next 2 years under probation. It has been theorized that the US government had gone after him so harshly as a way to convict the YouTuber as a felon, and therefore prohibit him from having access to firearms, though this cannot be proven. The only silver lining of Kyle's situation was that his prison stories have amassed millions of views on his podcast, PKA. Rusty Cage is most well known for creating the Knife Game song, which became a viral sensation immediately upon its release. But the artist has a large catalog of videos beyond that. In a series of uploads posted between late 2017 and early 2018, Rusty recounted the tale of how he and his delinquent friends attempted to steal a slushie machine while they were in high school. Although it initially seemed like they had gone away with the crime, the law eventually caught up with them, as they were pulled from class one by one and interrogated. After confessing, Rusty was forced to spend a night in prison before the judge allowed him and his cohorts to be under house arrest for the rest of the trial. Though known mostly for his appearances on Jackass, in recent years, Steve-O has become a rather prolific figure online as well. This includes his personal YouTube channel where he has amassed over 6 million subscribers. Due to the extreme nature of many of his exploits, he has built up quite an arrest record throughout his career. His most recent brush-in with the law came in 2015 while broadcasting live on Facebook. The stunt performer climbed onto a construction crane at SeaWorld in order to protest the park's mistreatment of animals. He was eventually arrested and charged with trespassing, receiving a sentence of 30 days behind bars. He was released from jail after serving only 9 hours due to overcrowding. Interestingly, he claimed his lawyer could have easily helped him avoid jail time, but chose not to in order to maximize publicity for his cause. Jason Ethier, known online as Jaystation, was a creator infamous for his paranormal videos, in which he claims to speak to recently deceased celebrities. To put it lightly, Jay is no stranger to controversy, as he's actually been arrested twice in his life. In 2019, he and an associate visited Disney World with the intent of filming videos in the park. However, in an unlucky turn of events, the bag containing his camera went missing, causing Jason to become belligerently angry and berate the park staff. After refusing to leave, he was detained on charges of trespassing and resisting arrest. This led him to spend time in jail while he awaited trial. Jason's second run-in with law enforcement would occur almost a year later, when his now ex-girlfriend Alexa Morano accused him of assaulting her. Toronto police confirmed he was in fact arrested for this, although charges seem to have been dropped as the couple have publicly reunited since the incident. Jamal Hassan Heraz, aka ArabAndy, is an internet personality who gained notoriety after forcing his way into the broadcast of the popular streamer Ice Poseidon. This event inspired Jamal to begin a video career of his own, doing similar live content in which viewers could donate to have anything they desired played out on his phone speakers while he was in public. The idea would almost immediately backfire when a viewer paid to have a pre-recorded bomb threat play while the entertainer was visiting a university campus. This sent the entire room into a panicked frenzy as the students and facility fled for the doors. Jamal was subsequently arrested for threats to bomb or injure property, with his bail set at $75,000. Ethan Ralph is the titular host of the controversial online show The Ralph Retort and its companion program The Killstream. In 2016, he was arrested following a drunken altercation with police. According to reports, the authorities were called in order to deal with an intoxicated male sleeping in the lobby of his building. Upon being awoken, Ralph attempted to exit the scene before attacking the deputies, committing 2 felony counts of assaulting an officer. This altercation led him to plead guilty and serve a mandatory 6-month prison sentence. Dillion Burch is a YouTuber who in 2018 traveled to Disney World in Orlando, Florida to film an active shooter prank video. This entailed drunkenly running around the resort warning guests that there was a gunman on the property and that they needed to evacuate immediately. After being confronted by staff, he admitted it was a hoax, claiming he was conducting a social experiment for his account. He was arrested on charges of disturbing the peace as well as public intoxication, for which he received a sentence of 3 days in prison. Pranksy is a prankster known for the various outrageous stunts he performs throughout the city of New York. While many have criticized the lengths he has gone to for jokes in the past, he rather explicitly crossed the line when he decided to stage a medical emergency in the middle of Times Square. With a hidden GoPro on the dashboard of his car, he feigned passing out by a stoplight, forcing police to break into his vehicle in an attempt to save him. He later claimed he had not staged the incident and it was instead the result of 2 workouts and a Red Bull, but this excuse proved unconvincing for law enforcement, who arrested him for charges of disorderly conduct and filing a false report. Austin Jones is an American YouTuber who gained popularity for his covers of popular punk and rock music, accumulating over 500,000 subscribers while he was active. The problem was that in 2015, allegations started to spread that he was abusing his position to solicit inappropriate videos from minors. Though he attempted to deny and downplay the accusations at first, he was arrested for the production of illegal images just 2 years later. He eventually pleaded guilty and is currently serving a 10-year sentence in federal prison. Given that he's as controversial as he is influential, social media star Jake Paul is no stranger to run-ins with law enforcement. While he became notorious in 2017 due to the numerous public disturbances he caused at the Team 10 house, his first serious charges occurred in June of 2020. Jake was indicted for 2 misdemeanor offenses of trespassing on private property in the midst of a protest against the recent death of George Floyd. This would eventually escalate 2 months later when the FBI raided his home and seized several firearms from his possession. While the conclusion of this case has yet to be seen, the department issued a statement indicating that they would be dropping the initial misdemeanor charges in favor of a federal criminal investigation. However, those were officially dropped as well in August of 2021. Jared Lee Loeffner is an American college student who joined YouTube under the username ClassItUp10. For reasons that are not fully understood, he developed an intense hatred for the United States Representative Gabrielle Giffords. On January 8, 2011, Loeffner traveled to a supermarket where Giffords was holding a meeting with her constituents. Before anyone could react, he pulled out a gun and opened fire, injuring 13 in attendance and inflicting fatal wounds to 6 others. Jared was subsequently beaten and subdued while reloading his weapon. He received a sentence of life in prison. Tana Mongeau is one of the few women that has the honor of making this list. She is known for her various publicity stunts with Jake Paul, as well as for creating the ill-fated convention TanaCon. This young lady has told many stories on her channel throughout the years detailing her various experiences with law enforcement, some more severe than others. The first of these escapades took place when she was 18 at the annual Arts and Music Festival Coachella. As she and her friends relaxed in the VIP area, they decided to purchase a few drinks from the bar, only to be stopped by undercover cops. She was charged for possessing and consuming alcohol as a minor, before being taken to what she dubbed as Coachella jail via golf cart. While this is certainly one of the least severe incidents we've discussed so far, Tana hyped up the story to maximize attention, with the upload telling her account sitting at over 5 million views. Thaddeus McMichaels, known online as MadThad0890, is most well known for his fanatical love of anime. His most infamous moment on the internet came from an image he took and uploaded onto Facebook, showing himself hugging a framed anime character. When looking at the post's comments, it's revealed that Thaddeus had created a second account with which to communicate with himself in character as a fictional girl. This odd behavior spurred onlookers to delve deeper into his YouTube and social media history, where they unearthed posts of him attempting to justify inappropriate interactions between adults and minors. The sheer amount of these posts were prevalent enough for federal authorities to obtain a warrant and search his hard drive, finding hundreds of illegal images downloaded onto his computer. While his initial plea allowed him to escape jail time, it didn't take long for the anime fan to violate the terms of the agreement by publicly mocking law enforcement, forcing him to serve the mandatory 5 years behind bars. Thaddeus ended up serving 6 years in total before being released in 2018. Under the pseudonym Mr.Anime, Trey Sessler was a highly regarded figure in the anime fandom for being among the first to produce review-style videos of the art form. While his audience appreciated the brutal honesty of his thoughts and opinions, it also led them to raise eyebrows, as he professed statements that gave glimpses into his questionable mental state. Sessler had a tendency to give angry and over-the-top reactions in his reviews, and his videos often demonstrated his fascination with firearms and gore. As it turns out, behind the scenes, Trey had been plotting for years to attempt the largest mass tragedy in history. The beginning of the end was when he posted a video claiming he would be taking a break in early 2012 to focus on a new job, but he instead began taking steps to follow through on his heinous scheme. On the first day of spring that year, he brutally executed his parents and brother before walking towards the pep rally held at the local high school. He thankfully didn't make it to the sporting event though, and instead went to a friend's house to confess. The anime fan was shortly thereafter arrested and sentenced to life in prison. When Mike Lombardo began uploading quirky song covers and piano tutorials on YouTube, he became an instant favorite to many. His charismatic personality and musical talent made him a promising new creator, and thus he was quickly signed by DFTBA Records, a label co-owned by YouTuber Hank Green. Unfortunately, Mike was not all that he seemed to be on the surface, as in 2012, the up-and-coming musician was arrested for soliciting explicit images and videos from 6 different underage fans. With the copious amounts of evidence against him, Mike pleaded guilty, and was sentenced to serve 5 years in federal prison until his release in 2018. Leighton LeBoot, known online as DollyFlesh, is a claymation animator and performance artist known for the disturbing themes and imagery present in his work. While at first one would assume him to be an eccentric but ultimately harmless creator, this couldn't be further from the truth. In 2019, Leighton was arrested for the torture and murder of 3 hamsters, which he filmed and shared publicly on the internet. The hamsters that were victimized were shown in a previous video on his channel, of which its description only reads, "Pin stabbed, drowned, microwaved." Upon investigation, authorities found recipes for poisonous gases as well as a list of people he hated. In August of 2021, he was handed an 18-month conditional sentence. One of the earliest personalities on YouTube, Edward Edarem Muscare, was an elderly creator known for his quirky comedic content. With years of experience in the entertainment industry, it was easy for him to adapt to the internet age and gain a sizable following. However, his fans' opinions on the senior citizen would change when they learned of his criminal record. It turned out that his original career as a television presenter ended abruptly after he was arrested for sexual battery. Upon being found guilty, Edward was sentenced to 18 months of prison time and forced to enter the sex offender registry. Exiled from the industry, YouTube was his only outlet for fame and attention. Authorities, however, took notice of this and reminded him that the terms of his parole barred him from owning a computer. Ed attempted to find a loophole by having third parties upload his videos, but this proved unsuccessful as he was once again imprisoned for violating the agreement. The aging entertainer remained behind bars until his death from lung cancer. Max Carson, also known as Mr.Girl, is a social commentator who became the subject of derision after uploading a video praising the Netflix movie Cuties. This was not Max's first brush-in with controversy though, as he had multiple YouTube accounts terminated over the years for violating terms of service. For this reason, it's perhaps not surprising that his antics have caught the attention of law enforcement. During his time at university, Max made comments in class empathizing with the perpetrator of a shooting that occurred just a day prior. This sparked concern amongst his fellow students, and he was soon reported to authorities. He was detained and forced to spend the night in jail, but it seems he was released with no charges being placed against him as his opinions were protected under the First Amendment. This didn't deter him from taking advantage of his right to free speech though, as just last year he was handcuffed and searched by police over Reddit comments he made that were constructed as terroristic threats. One of the most prominent internet memes of the early 2010s was Bed Intruder, a news report in which a man by the name of Antoine Dodson ranted about a recent attempt at sexual assault on his sister. The quotable phrases such as "he's climbing in your windows" and "hide your kids" were soon made into the equally viral Bed Intruder song, making the man a celebrity. Because of this slice of internet fame, whenever Antoine had gotten into legal trouble over the following years, it has been reported on by news outlets. This living meme has been arrested for a variety of misdemeanors, ranging from speeding to the possession of marijuana. Each of these led to minor sentences, but it seems as though in recent years he's gotten his act together, started a family, and is currently employed as a substitute teacher. HATETHESTATE, also known by his real name, Ian McGuire, is a vlog-style YouTuber located in Florida known for his videos criticizing the local government and law enforcement. In 2019, McGuire became infatuated with a woman he'd noticed while filming a video at a farmer's market. This obsession soon got out of hand as he began stalking her, eventually reaching the point where she had to file a restraining order against the creator. This effort proved to be in vain as Ian repeatedly violated the terms of this legal decree. Unsatisfied terrorizing the innocent woman on his own, the YouTuber started collaborating with one of his fans to devise a harassment campaign, first sending packages containing adult toys and fecal matter to her home before escalating to threats of sexual violence against her family. While this would have already been disturbing enough if it ended here, McGuire decided to step up his degeneracy to the next level by sending her a dead cat, whose body had been crushed and amputated. Because of these antics, he was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. JinBop was a gaming YouTuber most well known for his collaborations with other popular Minecraft creators such as SkyDoesMinecraft. While active, he accumulated a sizable audience, as hundreds of thousands tuned in to watch him and his friends play games. Despite his squeaky clean appearance, behind the scenes JinBop was using his newfound fame for less admirable purposes. This all started when, after receiving art from a 14-year-old fan, he began preying on her in an inappropriate manner. The Minecrafter befriended the young girl, asking for a striptease on camera and talking about meeting up at a gaming convention to have intercourse. Thankfully, her parents became suspicious when listening to their calls, gathered evidence, and then reported the Minecrafter to authorities. JinBop was arrested on charges of enticing a minor for sex. He is currently in prison where he will stay until 2023. Conceptually, David's Farm was a straightforward channel. The uploads included the middle-aged David Rock showing his viewers what his life on the farm was like. These tended to range from typical lifestyle vlogs to more unique content with eye-catching titles such as Redneck Roller Coaster. This gimmick, combined with his eccentric personality, led him to become one of the most popular channels in the entirety of Canada. The problem was, with this status came increased scrutiny as people began digging through his past, where it was soon discovered that about 2 decades prior, David had pleaded guilty to 7 charges of exploiting children, after he had been caught encouraging 2 teenage boys to do inappropriate acts on camera. Upon his subscribers being disgusted with the revelation, David attempted to defend himself, though this ended up being in vain as only 2 years later he was arrested for once again possessing illegal pornography. While on trial, his channel was terminated seemingly by complete coincidence due to a copyright violation. With these events occurring one after another, many felt this would be the last we'd hear from David, but that was not the case. Just 4 years later, the disgraced star made headlines for a final time, after police raided his property and found even more outlawed pictures under the rug of his barn. He was sentenced to yet another 9 months in jail, and seemed to display no remorse for his actions. Lovingly called the grandfather of YouTube for a time, Donzel Owens became a sensation through his channel PlasmaMasterDon, as viewers came in droves to listen to his unique covers of popular songs. While he certainly didn't make the most high-quality content in the world, his appeal came from his seemingly earnest yet odd personality. Fans claimed him to be one of the most wholesome creators on the platform, and as word spread, he quickly accumulated over 500,000 subscribers. Unfortunately, Donzel was not as innocent as many presumed. Just 1 year prior to blowing up, he had been convicted for sexual imposition after he touched a boy. This led him to be momentarily detained and forced to register as a sex offender. While his criminal past went unnoticed at first, it was eventually brought to the spotlight by a concerned Redditor, specifically because the elderly man had made multiple videos directed towards children in the past. Shortly after his crimes became knowledge, Donzel stepped away from the limelight, and soon after passed away due to underlying health issues. Lindsay Ellis is a video essay channel and television personality known for her critical analysis of media, often through a political lens. In the past, she was a rather notable contributor to the site That Guy with the Glasses under the pseudonym Nostalgia Chick, though she had found far greater success since then. She graces our presence today because of the fact that in 2017, Miss Ellis was arrested for public intoxication, which allegedly came after she had one too many drinks at a bachelorette party. Not much else is known about the incident other than these sparse details and her now iconic mugshot. Marcos Wilton, better known by his online alias Lionmaker, was a Belgian YouTuber who made a name for himself in the Minecraft community during its prime. With approximately 700,000 subscribers on his original account, he was most well known for his series Survival Madness. That was until late 2015, when allegations began to circulate that he was offering multiple underage fans money in exchange for explicit images. As this story quickly gained traction on drama-centric channels, Marcos posted one of these illegal pictures to his Twitter account, cementing the allegations' legacy in the public eye. After much public drama, Lionmaker was arrested by Belgian authorities and held in jail for 10 months before being quietly released. He has since attempted to make multiple comebacks on YouTube with no success. Brandon Carter is a fitness YouTuber with over 700,000 subscribers. In 2017, he and another creator named Connor Murphy concocted a scheme in which they would publicly feign a physical altercation before transitioning into a comedic dance-off. Unfortunately, before the duo was able to reach the punchline of their bit, they were tackled by police. Brandon was arrested and placed in jail for allegedly resisting arrest. Thankfully, as police became more aware of their intent that day, the charges were dropped. Charles Ross had made quite a name for himself in the pranking world. He is most well known for his outrageous and occasionally illegal stunts, such as the time he jumped over a police officer on camera. As a result, he's been arrested several times in the past, but consistently managed to evade jail time. That said, this lucky streak would end when the bamboozle artist attempted his phony officer stunt, in which he impersonated law enforcement and wrote bogus parking tickets to unsuspecting victims. This was deemed a felony offense, leading him to be arrested and held in prison on $10,000 bail. The charge was eventually lowered to a misdemeanor, with him only serving 6 months on probation. Brandon Asher, known online as Bashurverse, was a Minecraft YouTuber most well known for his collaborations with Bam Lounge, along with his personal account. During his rise to fame, a collaborator had done a background check on the man, which was when they discovered Brandon had a criminal record. It turns out that prior to YouTube, the Minecrafter had been found guilty of having an unlawful transaction with a minor. While to this day the exact details of the incident are disputed, rumors began to spread, leading to Brandon having multiple mental breakdowns on camera, leading to his demise. Cameron Dallas is an internet personality who originally found success on YouTube and the now defunct Vine platform. He's since gone on to work in entertainment, appearing in a handful of films and television shows. As his fanbase continued to grow larger and larger, Cameron began to attract some less savory characters. In 2019, he was arrested for beating an unwanted guest who refused to leave his hotel room. Upon release, Cameron defended himself, arguing that the man was there without permission, refused to leave, and insinuated that he had inappropriate intentions. Funnily enough, this was not Cameron's first run-in with the law, nor was it the first time discussing him on this channel. In my 2016 video, 5 YouTubers that were arrested, I detailed another event in which the young performer was arrested and charged for vandalism while filming a video in which he and his friends covered his apartment in washable paint. Nina Santiago is a female lifestyle vlogger and exotic dancer who was taken into custody after pointing a firearm at her boyfriend following a domestic dispute. This all started when neighbors reported hearing commotion to police, escalating to a SWAT team arriving at her apartment. Nina refused to back down though, taking both her boyfriend and their son hostage. The conflict escalated to a 6-hour standoff as police gradually convinced the woman to release her captives and finally surrender. She was subsequently arrested on charges of child neglect and aggravated assault, without the intent to kill. A month and a half later, she uploaded a video explaining that the charges had been dropped, though this upload has been lost to time. TrollStation is a collective of YouTube pranksters based in the United Kingdom. Due to the extreme nature of their escapades, many of their stunts have led to the conviction of several people involved with the account. The first of these involved the group's founder, Dan, who was sentenced to 9 months in jail due to both a bomb hoax video as well as the mock robberies of several museums. Even after this arrest, the gang didn't seem to learn their lesson, as only 2 months later, 4 other members of the channel were jailed for staging an art heist that led to a stampede. The latter received sentences of 72 weeks. In the summer of 2016, the augmented reality mobile game Pokemon Go took the world by storm. Since the app encouraged players to go out into the real world to search for pocket monsters, some YouTubers decided to make videos in which they played the game in absurd locations. One such person was Russian vlogger Ruslan Sokolovsky, who filmed himself playing at a local church. Since he had a past history of criticizing religion, this footage received news coverage as the people he previously offended labeled him mentally ill and called for his arrest. Eventually, charges were brought to the creator initiator of inciting religious hatred, with him receiving a 3.5-year suspended sentence. Steven Fernandez was a young social media star with a bright future. Having made a name for himself as a skateboarder under the nickname Baby Scumbag, he was able to use this stardom to pull his family out of poverty. As his fame continued to grow though, he found himself surrounded by less than positive influences. At the age of 15, Steven, his manager, and a third party were arrested for attempting to sexually exploit a 12-year-old girl. After an anonymous tip that the three had tried to coerce the victims by using the young skateboarder's fame, authorities set up a sting operation that concluded with the trio in handcuffs for their crimes. In 2013, a previously unknown man named Matthew Cordle received national attention when he uploaded a YouTube video confessing that he was responsible for ending someone's life. In the chilling testimonial, Matthew revealed that he had been going the wrong way on the interstate while driving under the influence, causing a fatal head-on collision with the victim. He then added that while he was initially uncooperative with authorities, he realized the gravity of his actions and would be taking responsibility now. Following its release, he pleaded guilty to aggravated vehicular homicide. He would spend the following 6 years of his life in prison before being released on parole in 2019. Alexander, better known as White Boy 7th Street, is a video game live streamer who, like many of his peers, has been the victim of swatting, a dangerous trend where people call a SWAT team to a streamer's house while they're live, in order to see their reaction. Alex was a frequent target of these trolls for a period of time, at one point being the victim of these attacks on 3 separate occasions in the same month. On the third swatting, the now annoyed streamer once again let the officers into his home, expecting this to be nothing more than another inconvenience. The thing was, upon entering the property, the cops found 30 grams of marijuana, leading to the detainment of both him and his housemate. Alexander was facing felony charges of possession and intent to distribute, but these were eventually dropped due to the situation's unique set of circumstances. Even though he is not as notable as his brother in this regard, Logan Paul has been no stranger to legal troubles during his career. Had he stayed in Japan long enough to be prosecuted, his infamous vlog series might have landed him in legal trouble for the destruction of property, public indecency, and interference with business operations. While he was able to avoid these charges, his luck finally ended in Italy, when he and his brother were caught illegally flying drones near the Colosseum in Rome. As a result, the Italian military and police arrested the duo, at which point they were informed that it was against the law to use the filming device in the historic structure's vicinity. Luckily for them, they were let off with a warning after profusely apologizing. Reset, real name Ren, is a Spanish YouTuber known for his unusual and often cruel pranks. In 2017, his channel sparked outrage on social media after he published a video of himself feeding a homeless man an Oreo cookie filled with toothpaste. This caused the 50-year-old victim to get sick and begin vomiting, for which Ren showed no sympathy. The upload concluded with the prankster stating, "Look on the bright side, this helped him clean his teeth. I don't think he's brushed them since he became poor." As you can imagine, public outcry over the mean-spirited stunt prompted authorities to investigate Ren's channel, and he was eventually charged for the toothpaste incident, as well as various other crimes found in his back catalog of content. The young man was ordered to pay 20,000 euros to the victim and was sentenced to 15 months in prison. Nelk is yet another prank-based entertainment company that's had a multitude of run-ins with both Canadian and American law enforcement over the years. In 2015, the channel uploaded Coke Prank on Cops, where they claimed to have cocaine in their car, only to reveal they were referring to Coca-Cola products. Surprisingly, authorities did not see the humor in this joke, as the group received a formal warning from the LAPD. In 2017, 2 members were arrested for impersonating employees at a Toys R Us. During filming, they shot at unsuspecting customers with Nerf guns, which some speculate was the basis for the assault charges that were soon filed against them. Despite spending the night in jail, they ended up winning their case and walking away scot-free. Finally, in January of 2019, a Nelk member was arrested for walking into a Barnes & Noble store covered in fake blood and asking for literature on how to cover up a crime. This prankster was charged with disorderly conduct, and unlike the previous cases, was found guilty. RoccoPiazza is a young vlogger best known for his stunts that he often does with his family. One video that best represents their content style is 2017's driving a truck full of Orbeez. As the name implies, his parents filled the bed of their vehicle with water and a copious amounts of the gel balls, turning it into a makeshift pool before driving around town as their son swam in the back. Local law enforcement ended up watching this video and weren't as amused though, as they soon would arrest Rocco's parents for child endangerment. They were quickly found guilty and ordered to publicly apologize and clean up all the beads they had dumped around town. Years ago, Sam Pepper was one of the most infamous creators on the platform. Since many of his videos seemed to border on harassment, the public riled against Sam's content, as they felt it perfectly exemplified all the problems with the prank genre on YouTube at the time. As if that wasn't enough, allegations began to surface accusing the prankster of sexual assault, resulting in an investigation by Los Angeles police. However, these charges would be dropped due to a lack of cooperation from the accusers. Sam would not escape the law forever though. 4 years later, after pivoting to live content, he and another streamer, Ice Poseidon, attempted to sneak into a convention by using a replica Fortnite piñata as a Trojan horse. While successful at first, they were eventually caught and detained live on air. Beside the arrest we discussed in the entry prior, Ice Poseidon has had numerous run-ins with the law. In fact, he has been such a prominent target of swatting pranks that it eventually led to his permanent suspension from Twitch. What's made him such a tantalizing victim for trolls is the nature of his content. Unlike most streamers who simply stay in their homes playing video games, Ice Poseidon's broadcasts depict him and his friends venturing into the real world. Among the many swatting incidents he's endured includes an anonymous threat made to an airport he was at in 2017. The troll reportedly impersonated the creator to police and claimed to be armed with explosives, resulting in the IRL streamer being forcibly escorted from his plane and detained as they searched him. The most recent instance of shenanigans involving Ice occurred in 2019, when the FBI conducted a 5-hour-long raid on the mansion he was staying at due to more alleged bomb threats. This resulted in the confiscation of every piece of technology owned by those staying at the estate. Steven Williams, better known as Boogie2988, is a YouTuber who has been around since the early days of the platform, first gaining success playing the role of the over-the-top destructive character Francis. Steven has had his fair share of problems over the years, which eventually culminated in a standoff with fellow creator Frank Hassel, who is best known for his videos in which he goes out in public and disturbs the peace in various ways. This feud escalated rapidly as Frank began saying he was going to show up at Boogie's house, a threat which he made good on in September of 2020. Boogie was not pleased with his visitor, as he stepped through his front door with a gun in hand, eventually firing off a warning shot into the air. Considering he lived close to both a school and church, the community was not pleased by his use of a deadly weapon, and Boogie would soon enough be arrested on charges of aggravated assault. While his opponent was the one who ended up getting arrested, due to the nature of his work, it wasn't long before Frank Hassel had his own brush-in with the law. In July of 2021, the prankster made a video where he went to a grocery store, approached a random shopper, and accused them of raping him in a dream. His target did not find any humor in this, as he went to the store's employees and asked them to call the police. When authorities arrived, Frank was placed in handcuffs and detained at the scene. While he had not technically committed any crime simply by talking to his victims, he had at one point taken the hat off the man who called the police, which fell under the legal parameters of assault. Mr. Hassel was banned from the grocery store and had a warrant put out for his arrest. He left the state shortly thereafter. Paul Miller is a streamer better known by his nickname Omegle Joker. An ardent white nationalist, he would go onto the website to promote his ideology to random strangers while dressed up as the famous pop culture villain. Prior to his online infamy, Miller had been convicted in the past for attempted aggravated assault and drug charges. Despite his criminal record, he would often upload images of himself holding various guns on social media, something barred by federal law. In March of 2021, the FBI raided Miller's home and arrested him for possessing firearms as a convicted felon. As of writing, he is currently awaiting trial. CarlH was a computer programmer who made a name for himself helping others learn how to code. In his subreddit, he would provide free lessons that users praised as intuitive and easy to follow. He was known for being extraordinarily friendly, even offering one-on-one Skype calls for those having a harder time learning the craft. As he began to garner an audience, Carl started expanding to other platforms, establishing his own blog and YouTube channel. Little did anyone know that behind the inviting exterior was a very dark side to this happy-go-lucky man. The CarlH persona would finally come crashing down when fans discovered he was involved in a child exploitation ring the entire time he was making tutorials, even abusing his own 9-year-old son on camera. The disgraced programmer was indicted by federal authorities, who charged him with 18 counts of child abuse. Upon his imprisonment, Carl chose to end his own life rather than face punishment for his actions. Joel Faviere is a singer and songwriter known for being the ex-lead vocalist of the band Get Scared. Though his tenure with the group was brief, the opportunity allowed him to jumpstart his YouTube channel, accumulating a small but loyal audience in a relatively short amount of time. Despite having a promising career ahead of him, everything would come crashing down when, in 2017, Joel was arrested for possessing over 4,000 illegal images, including those depicting the abuse of toddlers. He told detectives he had only been interested in the material for a year, and this interest quickly spiraled into an addiction. He is currently serving a 12-year sentence in prison. Ralph Sweeney, also known as Raid Wolf Gamer, was a Canadian YouTuber known for his playthroughs of indie horror games and Minecraft. In 2019, he was arrested for sending explicit material to a child, as well as 2 counts of attempting to lure them into his home with inappropriate intent. He posted bail and subsequently deleted his channel to comply with orders of not interacting with those under the age of 18. Mr. Dead Moth made national headlines when during one of his Fortnite live streams, he broadcasted a domestic abuse incident between him and his then pregnant partner. Upset that he prioritized the game over her, she began throwing objects at him, instigating a physical altercation between the couple. Viewers quickly alerted Australian law enforcement, who arrested Luke and charged him with assault. The disgraced streamer pleaded guilty and was sentenced to a 14-month good behavior bond. Thomas Elvine Chung was both a Twitch streamer and a community specialist working at the video game studio Hi-Rez. Although he had an outwardly respectable appearance, it would turn out things were not as they seemed when Thomas was arrested in a sting operation, in which he was charged with attempting to seduce a child over the internet. He allegedly solicited favors of the sexual variety from an undercover agent he thought to be a 14-year-old girl. Facing up to 20 years in prison, he was released the following weekend on bond. Bob Magran was a fan favorite of the channel Silvermania for his unique stories and raunchy sense of humor. Unfortunately, many of the jokes he made have aged poorly in hindsight due to his arrest in the summer of 2016 for the possession of CP. The entertainer was found guilty and served a year in prison before being released on parole, and has been given a ban on using technology for an unspecified length of time. After attaining brief success collaborating with other figures in the art community, Otako Studios became the subject of controversy after its founder, Andre Tucker, was alleged to have enticed minors into producing not safe for work illustrations. While this alone would have been reprehensible enough, the story got worse when Tucker was arrested 2 years later for participating in child trafficking. After viewing online advertisements involving a kidnapped 12-year-old runaway, the studio owner paid to perform inappropriate acts with them. Federal authorities eventually located the perpetrators and their clients, leading to his arrest. Andre was found guilty and is currently serving a 10-year prison sentence. Educational content is a massive genre on YouTube, as the site's accessibility makes it an excellent resource for sharing information. One of the earliest staples of the genre was The Happy Scientist, run by independent instructor Robert Krampf. Since he already had a past in edutainment, Robert quickly accumulated a loyal audience of parents and children alike as he taught otherwise boring concepts in a fun and easy-to-digest way. As has been demonstrated thus far though, oftentimes the brighter a picture seems, the darker the negative turns out to be. In 2020, Krampf was arrested after he responded to a Craigslist ad advertising improper interactions with a child, which turned out to be bait by the authorities. He was subsequently indicted for possessing thousands of illegal materials involving minors under the age of 12, and is currently awaiting trial as of writing. With an estimated net worth of over $30 million, Ryan's Toys Reviews is one of the most highly profitable channels on all of YouTube. Given their success, it's no surprise that the family behind the account has attempted to remain low profile, in order to have at least some semblance of normalcy in their lives. Unfortunately, this was undone when the Daily Mail ran a background check on the child's parents, which revealed that Ryan's mother had a minor criminal record for shoplifting $93 worth of clothes, nearly 2 decades prior. It is obviously a rather petty crime, but she was arrested. Majestic Unicorn is a Fortnite streamer who, during one of her broadcasts, became infuriated with her child who was trying to get her attention. In an attempt to stop the fussing, she began to push the youngster away, but things quickly escalated when the streamer began shouting at the toddler before hitting them twice. The footage then shows her throwing the infant onto her bed before seemingly biting their arm. This incident received intense public backlash, prompting Canadian police to begin investigating the mother, culminating in her arrest. Although he was a once notable Call of Duty commentator, Only Use Me Blade has had a controversial past few years. Since moving towards live streaming, his content consists primarily of him drinking heavily and degrading himself in various ways. Fortunately for him, alcoholism isn't a crime, but on the Painkiller Already podcast, Blade did tell the story of how he was unknowingly roped into an attempted robbery. This resulted in him being arrested and charged as an accomplice to the crime, which he reluctantly pled guilty to. The streamer was sentenced to 41 months in prison, though only had to serve 27. During his time in the spotlight, Martin Shkreli had a contentious relationship with the online community. While he was hated by the public at large for substantially raising the price of an anti-parasitic drug, he slowly accumulated a loyal audience that was more sympathetic to his side of the story due to his trollish personality. At this point, he gained quite a viewer base on YouTube who wanted to hear his thoughts on the pharmaceutical industry. These fans continued to stick by the multimillionaire when he was arrested by the FBI on charges of securities fraud, which he was more than willing to discuss with whoever joined his streams. Despite his confidence that he would walk free, Shkreli was found guilty on all counts and is currently serving a 7-year sentence in federal prison. Desmond, better known by his screen name Etika, was a beloved live streamer known for his positive and excitable personality. Even though he tried to project an uplifting message to his fans, behind the scenes Desmond was struggling with severe mental issues. He would occasionally post dark and emotional ramblings to his social media profiles, which were very concerning to his friends and audience. Things became even worse in April of 2019 when Etika live streamed himself being detained by police on Instagram. Only a few weeks after this incident, he was publicly arrested after reportedly assaulting a police officer on the streets of New York. These were all clear signs that the prolific streamer was in desperate need of help. Unfortunately, this story does not have a happy ending, as many online started to mock the clearly struggling man, and in June of 2019, Desmond took his own life. Baked Alaska, real name Tim Gionette, is a conservative blogger known for his political activism and controversial live streams. Despite being the singer and songwriter behind the track We Love Our Cops, Tim has had quite a few negative interactions with the law in his lifetime. This has included multiple public outbursts, in which he harassed service workers for wearing masks during the pandemic until law enforcement had to be called. He is currently under fire due to his involvement in the Capitol Hill raid in January of 2021. The controversial figure outed his involvement by broadcasting the event, and can even be seen holding Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi's phone in an image that has since become widely circulated. Consequently, he's recently been arrested by the FBI on counts of unlawful and violent entry as well as disorderly conduct. Silento became an internet and pop culture sensation in 2015 when he released his debut single, Watch Me, to massive success. Having made the song at the age of 17 in his parents' basement, he appeared to have a promising future as he capitalized on the song's popularity and signed to a record label. Unfortunately, in recent years, the once legendary artist has seemingly turned to a life of crime, as he was arrested twice in August of 2020. Though the exact details are unclear, he was first detained for injuring an acquaintance, but was released the same night. The very next day, he entered a random person's home with a hatchet searching for his girlfriend, leading to his second arrest. Fast forward to February of 2021, and he's now currently on trial for allegedly shooting his cousin to death. Hero Alum is a social media star from Bangladesh known for his acting in amateur music videos. In 2019, a domestic dispute allegedly caused by Alum's wife becoming suspicious that he was having an affair quickly escalated when he beat her to the point of hospitalization. He would spend 43 days in jail for the assault before being released on bail. Amos Yee is a Singaporean provocateur who became the subject of a civil rights debate after being arrested for his content criticizing his home country's government, mocking its most popular religion, and celebrating the death of national icons. The teen was tried as an adult, found guilty, and sentenced to spend a month in jail. This didn't dissuade him, however. After being released, Amos continued to produce the same vlogs he did before, leading to his inevitable rearrest. Now sentenced to spend 6 weeks behind bars, it was clear that the government was growing impatient with him. Once his sentence was up, Amos fled to the United States to seek asylum. At this point, the general public looked at the young man favorably, seeing him as someone willing to risk his own safety in order to hold truth to power. This sentiment didn't last long though, as many started to regret letting him into America when he began a campaign for the rights of self-identifying minor-attracted people. This included YouTube videos that defended pedo behavior. Some of his remaining fans tried to excuse his new cause as simply trolling, but he doubled down on his sincerity and continued for years. Perhaps unsurprisingly, in 2020 he was arrested for allegedly soliciting and possessing illegal images of a 14-year-old girl. If found guilty, he will likely lose his asylum status and be deported back to Singapore, where he will likely be arrested once again. For a time, Fantastic Adventures was one of the most popular child-oriented channels on YouTube, racking up over 200 million views over its lifetime. Even though everything looked fine to a casual watcher, behind the scenes was a horror story of physical and emotional abuse by the channel's owner, Michelle Hackney. As it turns out, the stars of the videos were her 7 adopted children, who she would often beat and pepper spray off camera. She restricted them from basic needs such as food, water, and even access to the restroom when they didn't follow her directions. This horrifying truth was uncovered after one of the children was was seen running nude throughout the neighborhood, causing Michelle's biological daughter to report her to police. She was arrested and indicted on 30 counts of child abuse. 5 months later, she was found not competent to stand trial, and passed away shortly thereafter due to a brain aneurysm. Television presenter Chris Hansen has become an internet legend over the years due to his iconic tenure on Dateline's To Catch a Predator. This online adoration was likely a key factor in his eventual shift to YouTube, which has been met with mixed reception. While we won't get into the details here, his shaky reputation was not made any better following his arrest, as Hansen had written several bad checks to a vendor in 2017, with an accumulated total of $13,000. While the two parties at first tried to settle things out of court, the seller lost patience after the second check bounced and a warrant was soon put out for his arrest. Hansen turned himself in to be charged for the crime. It seemed the former television personality was suffering from sizable financial troubles during this time, as he was also being sued by his credit card company for failing to pay his bill of $57,000. Christine Weston Chandler is an internet personality notorious for her peculiar personality and often bizarre behavior. The eccentric comic artist has had a long history of legal troubles, ranging from public disturbances to flat-out trespassing. For the sake of brevity, we're only going to cover the most infamous arrest, the Sonic Boom incident. This saga begins shortly after the Christmas of 2014, when she entered a local GameStop to vandalize its Sonic the Hedgehog display in order to protest a change of the character's design in the most recent entry. Since she had been banned from the store a few days prior, staff attempted to call security, leading to her spraying an employee with pepper spray. Chris Chan was found guilty of the crime, but managed to avoid jail time. The Stokes twins are a pair of social media influencers known for their extreme stunt and challenge videos. One particularly outrageous example was their bank robbery prank, where the two donned ski masks and all-black clothing while pretending to escape the scene of a crime. As you could probably guess, the situation did not turn out well. Their antics led to an Uber driver who was roped in unwillingly as their getaway driver being held at gunpoint by police. A year after the video's recording, the two were arrested and charged for false imprisonment and false reporting. If convicted, they could receive a sentence of up to 4 years in prison. Mark, better known as Count Dankula, is a Scottish comedian who made global headlines in April of 2016 when he uploaded a video of himself teaching his girlfriend's pug how to perform a Nazi salute. Since the European country doesn't protect freedom of speech, because authorities felt it was grossly offensive, they were able to arrest the creator for breaching the Communications Act of 2003. He was eventually found guilty and ordered to pay a fine of £800. Love it or hate it, the OK Boomer meme was everywhere in the first half of 2020 and skyrocketed the online personality Nico Lol to internet stardom. With such an innocent persona, it may be surprising to learn that just 2 years prior to her breakout success, she had been arrested on felony charges of domestic abuse, for which she was sentenced to 6 months of anger management. As word of the incident spread across social media, Nico wrote a public statement explaining that the relationship had been toxic, and that there was far more context behind the incident than what was on the surface, though this evidence to exonerate her has yet to be shown publicly. 7 Awesome Kids was a conglomerate of channels that altogether had over a whopping 17 million subscribers. Each channel produced very similar content consisting of young female actors vlogging about their daily lives while performing costume skits. But behind the family-friendly endeavor was a sinister man named Ian Dean Rylett, who used his position of power to force the underage performers to do inappropriate acts for him, and would make them sign legally unenforceable contracts to intimidate them into letting him have his way. In one instance, he berated one of his young stars to undress for him in their hotel room. When he was finally arrested, Rylett faced up to 15 years on charges of molestation. However, he somehow managed to negotiate a plea deal where he had to serve only 90 days in prison. Andy Warski first became popular on YouTube by riding the wave of anti-SJW content in the mid-2010s. By 2019 though, he and his friends became infamous for doing real-life streams in which viewers could pay to have whatever offensive phrases they wanted played loudly from Warski's speaker in public. As you can probably imagine, this led to multiple confrontations between the streamers and random passers-by. On one occasion, after the phone played a particularly racially charged comment, an angry man came by and smacked the phone from the provocateur's hand, starting a fight. The argument quickly escalated when one of Warski's buddies, Alex, pulled out a taser and a gun. The police were soon called and Alex was arrested on spot for aggravated assault. Crystalli was an animation meme channel run by Guatemalan animator David Argueta. While he had faced criticism in the past for allegedly tracing over the work of other artists, this controversy was quickly overshadowed by the revelation that he had been grooming his underage audience to produce illegal images for him. He would then save these photos and attempt to sell them to underground communities. After his victim spoke out, David was arrested by authorities, charged with child trafficking, and sentenced to 3 years in prison for his crimes. Reflay, also known as Stas, is a Russian streamer known for his violent outbursts and mistreatment of those he lures into his broadcasts. While already infamous for his long track record of sadism, in December of 2020, he made global headlines when his behavior led to the on-stream death of his then pregnant girlfriend. After beating her to the point of hemorrhaging, Stas locked his victim outside in the freezing Russian cold. When he finally went out to check on her, he discovered she had passed away. The YouTuber was promptly arrested and sentenced to 6 years behind bars. While the small documentary turned global phenomenon Kony 2012 is viewed very differently in retrospect, at the time of its release, it showcased just how powerful internet activism could be. It caught the eyes of everyone, from Kony's army themselves to then President of the United States Barack Obama. The entire world was now aware of the movement, and all eyes were on the film's creators to provide a solution for how to bring down this terrible warlord. Unfortunately, this pressure proved to be too much for its director, Jason Russell, to handle, and shortly after the documentary's success, he had a mental breakdown in which he ran through the street naked, screaming and pounding on the sidewalk. Police were quickly called to perform a welfare check, after which Jason was promptly detained and hospitalized, where he was found to be exhausted, dehydrated, and malnourished. Rooster Teeth is an American production company known for its gaming and anime-centric content. They have been a well-respected figure on the internet for many years. However, that reputation was shaken in 2019, when the channel's vice president, Mike Quinn, was arrested following accusations from his wife of physical abuse. As the story goes, after coming home drunk from a party, he allegedly punched her in the head and stomach before aiming a handgun at her. She managed to escape to a local police station with a bloodied ear and a multitude of bruises, and a warrant was soon issued for his arrest. As of writing, he is currently awaiting trial. Rush Shift is a YouTuber who makes content centering around his love of vehicles. With this interest, it's rather fitting that in early 2021, he and 4 other men were charged with illegal street racing. At the time, he was already in legal trouble due to charges relating to a police chase and resisting arrest. For all of this, Rush was charged with 12 misdemeanors and 6 felony charges. As a result, he was legally forbidden from driving and had 2 of his cars impounded. The Japes was a Mumbai-based comedy troupe known for their excessively obscene prank videos. These miscreants would rope random women off the street, some of them minors, into participating in videos under the guise of it being an innocent stunt. However, once they had them where they wanted, the Japes would then try to touch their victims inappropriately, often in public. Unsurprisingly, many commenters took offense to this, asking if these so-called pranks were consensual or even allowed. Well, this question was answered when the trio were arrested for effectively molesting the victims seen in their videos. Their specific charges involved them violating anti-molestation laws. Though his videos were not particularly successful, the 33-year-old Kyle Long still enjoyed his hobby of producing self-help content in his spare time. So when he suddenly found his channel deleted without explanation, he reasonably became upset. In a fit of rage, he drove over 3,000 miles to Google's headquarters, intent on having a conversation with them about the termination. Instead, he was arrested on suspicion of making threats against Google. It would be revealed that the tech conglomerate was not responsible for the account's deletion. The true culprit had been Kyle's wife all along. She referred to his content as bizarre ramblings in which he had delusions of grandeur over future wealth and his ability to end world hunger. Fearing for his mental state, she took the channel down in the hopes that it would bring him back to reality. Upon seeing his reaction, however, she declined to tell him the truth out of fear that he would have an outburst in front of their children. Ferdian Palika is an Indonesian vlogger who became the subject of national outrage after uploading a particularly cruel and targeted prank video. It began with him and his friend creating dishes consisting of bricks and rotten food before disguising them as takeout orders. They then drove around scouting for victims, specifically searching for transgender women to trick into eating their rancid concoctions. This video sparked a massive wave of backlash, even escalating to the point of an angry mob forming outside of the YouTuber's house. Even with the outrage, he seemed to have no remorse for his actions and would soon film a video for himself laughing at the camera, exclaiming, "I personally would like to apologize for what I've done." Not. He was arrested for violating his country's information and electronic transaction law, a crime for which he faced up to 12 years in prison. For reasons unknown though, he was eventually released after the victims refused to press charges. Markel Anthony Carter, better known as Plain Potatoes, became a viral sensation for his videos where he randomly selected innocent customers and business owners and bullied them relentlessly in supposed pranks. While these videos brought him internet infamy, they also led him to become notorious in their hometown, as he targeted people for their appearance and refused to leave when asked. In February of 2019, he was charged on 1 count of second-degree assault and 26 misdemeanors. A month later, he pleaded guilty to 8 of the harassment and trespassing charges. Markel received no jail time. He quickly moved away from the area and has since distanced himself from the style of content. FaZe Banks is a creator most well known for his association with the FaZe clan, rising to fame playing games in the Call of Duty franchise. While vacationing in Italy with his then-girlfriend Alyssa Violet in 2018, the couple was arrested for driving a car without an international license. They consequently had their vehicle seized by authorities and were detained for 5 hours. Smooth Malik Sanchez is an in-real-life streamer who, out of total impulsivity, began climbing the Queensboro Bridge during one of his broadcasts. Equipped with little more than a can of pepper spray, Sanchez transmitted his scale of the structure live, as he wondered aloud if police would rescue him using a helicopter. Soon, traffic on the bridge was halted as law enforcement were dispatched to save the creator. The teen was charged with reckless endangerment, criminal trespassing, and possession of pepper spray during the stunt. In 2021, Malik found himself in trouble again, after shouting a bomb threat in public while streaming. He has pleaded guilty and is currently awaiting sentencing, facing up to 5 years in prison. In 2016, Stefan Rogata became known worldwide after climbing Trump Tower using suction cups. Appropriately dubbed the Suction Cup Man, there was endless speculation at the time over his potential motives for the bizarre stunt. This question would be answered shortly after people discovered Stefan's YouTube channel, where he explained it all. In his own words, the goal was to catch the president-elect's attention in order to meet with him to discuss what he only described as his independent research. Upon apprehension, Stefan was charged with reckless endangerment and disorderly conduct, for which he pleaded guilty. While a lot of people envision being heroes in fighting crime, many agree that YouTube couple Corey Cornutt and Savannah Grillett went too far when they began uploading videos of themselves making that dream a reality. Their scheme was simple. Place unguarded bicycles outside their home, wait for someone to come by and try to steal their property, and then when some did try to take it, beat them senseless with baseball bats. They would then retrieve the footage from their security cameras and upload it for the world to enjoy. Authorities were eventually notified of their content, and the two were arrested on charges of assault with a deadly weapon and conspiracy soon after. Alex Jones is the founder and face of InfoWars, which has become quite famous in the past 20 years for its promotion of conspiracy theories. Jones himself is quite a character as well, and is well known for his furious rants and outbursts. On one occasion, after getting in an argument with his then wife while at a sushi restaurant, the host left and drunkenly walked home. However, when his spouse arrived soon afterward, the argument immediately resumed, resulting in him getting in the car and driving away. As a result, Jones was arrested and taken to jail under charges of driving while intoxicated. Luckily for Alex, these would be dropped, as a breathalyzer test revealed his blood alcohol concentration level to be at 0.079 that night, when the legal limit is 0.08. Known mainly for his appearances on the reality TV show Ink Master, many didn't realize Daniel Silva was also in the YouTube community, making many acquaintances in the space. Unfortunately, most would find this out under less than ideal circumstances in association to his arrest. This story took place in LA as the tattoo artist was driving with his friend and fellow creator Corey LaBerry through the city. That was until he lost control of his vehicle and ran into a tree. This crash would prove fatal to his passenger, as Corey was rushed to a hospital where he would tragically die soon after. Daniel attempted to flee the scene, but was stopped by witnesses, with the police later discovering that the reality TV star had been driving under the influence. He was arrested and sentenced to serve 364 days in prison, followed by 5 years on probation. Tommy McGrew was adored by listeners of the podcast Double Toasted due to his likable personality and humorous remarks. So when he abruptly stopped appearing on the weekly show, fans began to speculate what the cause may have been. As they would soon find out, Tommy had been involved in a hit-and-run incident that resulted in a woman's death. He initially thought he had collided with a deer, but upon returning to the scene, he was horrified to discover the reality of the situation. The remorseful performer was charged with failure to stop and render aid, to which he pled guilty. Jessie Slaughter was a very well-known name on the internet in the mid-2000s, as she was one of the first significant targets of online trolling. What truly helped propel the young girl's notoriety were the explosive reactions that her father, Gene, had in response to the constant harassment that Jessie received. These outbursts spawned a slew of catchphrases such as "you done goofed" and "I backtraced it." While many found these shenanigans funny at first, soon this family's tale would take a dark turn when Gene was arrested on charges of child abuse. According to the police report, he punched Jessie so hard during a dispute that she suffered bloody and swollen lips. The case was never resolved, as Gene passed away due to a heart attack while in police custody. John Jero Popeye Velasquez became an unlikely YouTube sensation when he began uploading videos criticizing politicians and recounting his past as a key figure in Pablo Escobar's drug cartel. Claiming to have killed hundreds during his time working for the Kingpin, the ex-hitman served 23 years in prison before his release in 2014. Despite his newfound success as a YouTuber, he was eventually rearrested for extortion in 2018 after apparently relapsing back into a life of crime. He would pass away in prison 2 years later due to stomach cancer. Cody Wilson is a free speech advocate and anarchist who has been called one of the most dangerous people online due to his work towards creating open source 3D printable firearms. Despite the affairs he was involved in, it may surprise you to learn that the crime he ended up getting arrested for was completely unrelated to any of it. In 2018, Wilson was indicted for sexual assault during an encounter, in which he paid a 16-year-old girl to perform illicit acts with him at a hotel. Cody eventually pleaded guilty to a third-degree felony of injuring a child and was sentenced to 7 years of probation. He was also forced to register as a sex offender. Lee Carson, better known as L for Lee, was a young Minecraft YouTuber known for his close relationship with fellow creator Stampy Longhead. Stampy described the 16-year-old as his right-hand man, with the two even giving talks at primary schools together. In private though, Lee had some rather disturbing hobbies. While he started out by using sock accounts to harass women for nudes, as time went on his antics only became more depraved. The tipping point came when he allegedly snuck into one of his victims' homes, pleasured himself onto their clothes, and then informed them of his actions over Facebook. Upon receiving a tip, Lee was arrested by law enforcement and had his identity confirmed through DNA he conveniently left at the crime scene. He was granted bail and was forced to add his name to the sex offender registry. Groscore is a gaming live streamer who has become infamous for the various inflammatory comments he's made over the years. For example, he once publicly suggested his sister should have kept and sold her virginity, resulting in his family cutting all communication with him. Given that he was willing to say such a thing about his own sibling, it's perhaps no surprise he's gotten into trouble for other negative interactions with the outside world. While attending RuneFest, the official RuneScape convention, many reported the streamer for being creepy and making inappropriate gestures towards clearly uncomfortable women. In response, another streamer named Skidler decided to confront him outside a hotel, resulting in a full-fledged physical altercation that had to be broken up by police. While this didn't lead to an arrest, a year later, Groscore was detained for an unrelated but similar fight at a bar, where he was handcuffed for 2 hours. Brandon Hampton is a real-life streamer so controversial that he's been banned from nearly every platform imaginable. This is due to the sheer extent of illegal activities he broadcasts to his viewers. Most notably, in the summer of 2018, Brandon was arrested for public drinking as well as assault by threat. Then a month later, he was detained on air by a bounty hunter who tracked him down due to 6 outstanding warrants he'd received in Arizona. 3 months after that, during an argument with another streamer, he brandished a knife, causing Brandon to be charged with a felony. And the list doesn't end there. As of writing, he's facing a felony charge as well as 3 misdemeanors for criminal trespassing and resisting arrest after an incident in New York. Straight from the heart of Russia, Vitaly ZDTV is a prankster that's as well known for his content as he is for his explosive outbursts. For some insight into just how crazy he could be, Vitaly once crashed the Streamy Awards with the sole purpose of broadcasting the outline of his genitals for the show's entire viewing audience. Naturally, with stunts like that, it's no surprise he's had a long history of run-ins with the law. In 2014, Vitaly ran onto the field of that year's World Cup final, streaking before attempting to kiss one of the players. On another occasion, he ran across the court of an NBA game with the phrase "Trump sucks" sprawled across his chest, and "LeBron for president" on his back. Despite the prolific nature of these exploits, he continuously managed to evade long-term consequences, often only being arrested and forced to pay a fine. That is until 2020, when the YouTuber was alleged to have brutally beaten a random woman unprovoked. According to reports, the lady was jogging by herself when Vitaly jumped out from behind some bushes and tackled her in a way that was described as beating her mercilessly, until neighbors heard the screams and called police. Upon being brought to the hospital, it was discovered she suffered serious facial and head injuries, including a swollen and bloodied eye. As of writing, Vitaly is awaiting trial, facing a felony charge of aggravated battery, with it still being unknown why exactly he did what he did.